Planning in general, of course, we know that it's been a very topical issue with the recent collapse of that building, that seven-story building in New Boy Town. A lot of concerns have been raised once again. The same was done when that Malcolm building collapsed somewhere last year, and you saw the whole nation together with authorities coming in and talking really tough, and then later on we all forgot about it. So this one also came up. Well, this morning we are going to look at the role the Ghana Institute of Planners are playing or need to play or have played to ensure proper planning in our country, especially in the capital cities. Dr. Stephen Safo Urinchi is the president of the Ghana Institute of Planners. Good morning and good to see you. First of all, I would want to pick your thoughts on this building that collapsed in New Boy Town.
Before construction takes place, there is a need for a permit to be issued to the person who wants to construct. In most cases, or in some cases, some developers sort of refuse to go for such permits. I don't know much about the New Boy Town case in particular, but even if you have gone for permit, there is a need for the developer to open his doors to building inspectors who start right from the setting out stage of the construction up to finish. And in fact, at every stage of the construction, there is a need for the building inspectors to sign off that this particular thing has been done and certified. Got to certify the mix of the concrete, the materials to be used should be certified. All these things, if they are done, obviously they shouldn't have been this case. I think something might have gone wrong. Either the building inspectors were not allowed to do their work properly, or they didn't do their work properly. Two things. Or at times, the builder trying to, save money, we say that this is the number of bags of cement I have. Use it for this particular thing. Or the iron rods, which is prescribed in the schedule. Instead of using maybe 5/8, let's use 1/2 inch. In this case, the developer is detecting, and if the building inspector insists, then it will go on well. But in case the building inspector does not insist or neglect his duty a little bit, it will end up as we have seen.
Okay, now you've raised two very critical issues: the building inspector and the developer. Now, in the case of the New Boy Town building collapse and other ones that we have seen in the past or in recent past, issue was a problem from the developers and the building inspectors, because if you see a building that will be used by the public and you find problems with the building and you don't go in fast to correct what could have been disastrous, I want to let me situate the question very well. How much say has the inspector got in the development of a building?
The inspector has got the full backing of the assembly.
But is that what we see?
It depends on the inspector. If the inspector insists and the developer says the otherwise, the inspector has the power to stop the work.
But we don't see it happening.
Well, they are supposed to do it.
Yeah.
They have the power to stop the work, and they have to go back to the assembly and report to the works committee what is happening, and the work will be stopped.
So how would you rate building inspectors or the building inspectorate divisions of the various assemblies? Do you think they're doing their job very well, efficiently? Are they efficient?
They are, to some extent. But the big question is, how many building inspectors do we have? In certain cases, you see that the assemblies don't have enough or adequate building inspectors. The numbers are simply not there. You see, if you look at the rate at which development is taking place in Ghana, especially in the cities like Accra, Kumasi, Takoradi, it's so fast that We need so many of the building inspectors to do effective supervision, but they are not there.
Does it worry you as the president of the institute?
Yes, it worries me.
Okay.
That morning after the collapse of the building, I received about 5-6 calls. You see, and I even had to appear at DTV to. We were having a conference here, and the Nigerian Institute of Planners in Nigeria, their president was also here. So the two of us were put into the place to explain and give our take on this. So it's not a pleasant thing, especially when a building has collapsed, a building of such magnitude has collapsed, and to the extent of killing somebody. It's not the best.
What role do you play? How much effort do you put into the planning?
We have planning officers in all districts. All the districts have a fiscal or spatial planning officer and a development planning officer. Every district.
We don't see it in reality.
They are there. As for that, they are there.
Because there's haphazard planning.
The mere fact that there's haphazard planning doesn't mean that they are not there.
So they are not working?
No, they are working, but the human attitude. I'm talking about, haphazard planning comes in when somebody who has no permit decides to put up a building without that permit. And so he puts it where he feels he has got the land, and he put it there.
And in most cases, we see the buildings coming up. We don't say anything till there is a problem, till human lives have been claimed. That is when you see us rushing it.
That's what I said it earlier.
But it could be avoided.
It could be avoided. It could be avoided.
So it means our planners are not working.
No, they are working. The planners work to some point. The building inspectors will take
Continue.
over when everything is done. For planning, fiscal planners, we look at where the structure should be. Of course, we go to some extent of showing the orientation, how the building should be orientated to give you the maximum comfort in your homes. But when it comes to the physical construction, the supervision is with the city engineer and the building inspectors.
Okay. So let me understand your job very well. As the Ghana Institute of Planners, what in fact necessitated the formation of this group? It's quite an old association, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's one of the oldest, if not the oldest. It's the oldest of all the institutes.
And isn't it a shame that this institute is so old, yet planning is such a reckless thing we are practicing, especially in Accra?
I wouldn't agree with you.
It's not reckless?
100%. Yes, certain places, but not all places. We're doing our best. Our planners are doing their best to make sure that, planning is about taking care of people, arranging buildings and whatever in the space, on the land. And this is exactly what we are doing. But
is Accra properly planned?
Accra is properly planned, but on paper it is properly planned, but in practice, certain things, deviations come in because
whose fault?
It's the human attitude. You can't in other countries simply wake up and say that I'm going to build. I've bought a piece of land. I've got the piece of land from the chief. I'm simply going to build. Look, if you go to any town planning office at the assembly, you have a master plan there indicating in each zone. It's a zonal plan. We zone the whole area and indicate that all structures which has got something to do with education should come to this place. All structure which has got something to do with industry should come to this place. Commercial should come to this place. Civic and culture should come to this place. It's so divided and well made.
These days you see fuel stations or gas stations even in residential.
But go into it and you see that they don't have permits. So you see, that is where we need a complete national crusade on this issue, because it saddens my heart when I see people coming up, the structures coming up, and it's like...
How much power do you have as an association?
We have power, but through our members. And like I've said, our power rests with the assemblies.
Because I was expecting that, for instance, you would wage a war against this, reckless planning, or reckless, construction of buildings that we are seeing. As an association, you definitely will play some advocacy role. What do you tell the authorities in charge? The authorities who sit down, go to sleep on their jobs, and then buildings come up. They get to the latter stage. That is when they realize that something very bad or terrible has been done.
It's a twofold issue.
Okay.
From the person encroaching and from the authority, as you have rightly said. It's not a one-way traffic. Because if you say that you want to police everybody, believe me, the number of personnel that you will require to police all developers will be so many that you can't even think of getting money to pay them.
So people are taking advantage because the institutions are not working.
To some extent, but I would rather place the blame on the indisciplined nature of developers. See, a lot of people are indisciplined. You see, they know that they have to go and pick a permit, but they will not.
Because the authorities responsible in checking them are not working. They are fast asleep and snoring.
I wouldn't say they are fast asleep and snoring. I wouldn't say that. They are doing their best, but taking the circumstance, taking the human nature. I keep on saying the human nature. Because if you go to other countries, believe me, you would dare not do it.
Because the institutions are very vibrant. The institutions will not allow you to be indisciplined.
That is true to some extent. That is true to some extent.
To a large extent.
But not to the large extent. But the human nature. Look, I went to Singapore, and we're told point blank that look,
you can't litter.
You can't litter. You can't even spit.
Exactly.
You can't chewing gum because eventually it will come down. And it's like everybody knows that you can't do it, and they dare not do it.
Exactly.
But over here, people just take the. I wouldn't say
so
take the risk.
There's a respect for authority in a country like Singapore, as you mentioned.
Yes.
But if you have authorities who are colluding with the people down there, then there is a lack of respect.
Well, that colluding issue is a little bit, dicey to talk about.
You don't think there's collusion? You don't suspect collusion?
Yeah, I can't say that all my planners are just like angels. They are not doing it.
Of course, there are some very fantastic ones.
I wouldn't say that. But some are doing their work very, very well.
What would make your job easy for you as planners?
Like I said at GTV, we need to
You're on TV3 now.
TV3, we need to wage a war.
Yeah.
We need to wage a crusade to let people know what they are supposed to do. And the media, this whole year, I'm going to be with the media. I'm going to call till everybody is drummed into everybody's ears that you can't just go and develop. You see, at times when you see people developing on waterways, it is so bad, and the city authorities will come on you, and they will come and demolish.
But they don't come till it's late.
That's what I'm
saying. Authorities don't see it till it's late.
Is the personnel? There are not many. You see, like I said, if you look at the rate at which Accra is developing,
so the institutions are ill-equipped, ill-resourced.
To some extent.
Okay.
To some extent. Because at times they don't even have the right equipment to work with, like vehicles. It's not there.
Okay.
So you see, a whole lot of things is coming into play,
okay.
And that is creating.
I'm forced to take you back to this building that collapsed in Newboy Town, because in that particular instance, a number of people had gone to AMA, for instance, to report that they see a lot of things wrong with that particular building. AMA just went in to mark stop work. Nothing decisive was done. And this wasn't just yesterday. It started years ago. Until this happened, and then the AMA boss had to rush there. This is something we could have avoided from the beginning. So it is not just about they lacking the resources and equipment to work, but sometimes too, it's a bit of neglect and laziness on the part of the authorities. Wouldn't you agree? I'm
happy that you said AMA came to mark the building. At least they took a step. At least they took a step. If they had not come at all, I would have said that then they didn't do their work. But they came and they took a step, and they came to mark it.
And what happens after?
But you see, the indiscipline, that is where it brings in the indiscipline aspect. You are building in a certain way which is not acceptable. Yeah. The authorities have come to mark. You are ignoring them, and you are still building. Because the authority is not efficient. That's why I'm very happy with Alfred Van der Poel and saying that he's going to court. And of course, I support. It happened with Malcolm. We had Alfred Van der Poel say a whole lot of things, give us all the assurances. What happened? Well, in this particular case, I have heard him personally, and he said he's handed them over to the police. Investigation will take place, and they'll be sent to court, even including his own officers, which I'm very, very happy now, because it is starting. The war is starting. and it will start with New Boy Town.
Okay. It started with Malcolm. I mean, at a press conference that the mayor organized, he just fired somebody, one of his people, at a press conference.
Yeah,
it was a surprise move. And we thought it was going to mark the beginning of proper supervision.
You see, that one was just firing an officer. Here,
we're going to court.
We're going to court. So another step. See, it would drum some sense apologies to developers to sensitize them to make sure that the right thing must be
done. You owe them no apologies, actually. Some of them are very irresponsible. Dr. Renchi, apart from this crusade that you're leading, and I'm very happy that as an association, the Institute of Planners, you are taking up, this campaign to drive us in a certain direction. Apart from using the media, of course, you like you're doing now, you'll be talking to people to understand the urgency in doing proper planning. What else are you planning to do?
We are planning to have a lot of seminars, conferences, public fora, just to...
With developers?
Yes, not necessarily with developers, with the general public.
Okay.
Once we have it for the general public, like the recent one we had at the local government studies, which you were there, you saw the number of people who came, so huge. And it's like, it will send a signal, it will send the right signal to the building public that do this or do that. I talked about delays and I've rightly said, yes, at times our permits gets delayed. But when there is delay, it is delayed that way. You have to understand us, because if there are problems with the application, it will be delayed. But if there are no problems, like I said, and I want to repeat, within 90 days, you should get the result.
Okay. When you drive across, the city across Accra, and you see all these buildings coming up, and they are constructed within 3 months. 3 months, you see a building, standing on its feet. It looks ready to be occupied. How does that make you feel?
I feel comfortable because new technology
allows that.
Yes.
Okay.
Now there are a lot of things are prefab. And the curing stage is no more there where you pour the concrete and it will have to take 21 days.
Everything is fast.
Okay,
but do you get worried that the buildings are just springing up so much so?
I wouldn't say worried. Let me say concerned a little bit, especially when it's just sprawling and it's not going high rising. Land is gradually becoming scarce and scarce. So that when I see sprawling development, that's where my worry comes in, because the land will be consumed very quickly. And future generation will not have much land to deal with. But we have to start going high rising.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen Safo-Yenchi, President of the Ghana Institute of Planners. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I just want to remind the building public that when you want to construct any structure, go in for permit.
Good.
Our doors are opened. Our staff at the various assemblies are paid by the taxpayers' money, and they must be used.
Okay.